welcome to The Stack, the books podcast that is here to cut through the noise and share with you curated lists of the books that are worth your time. I'm Ella, I work in book publishing.
My name is Jake, I'm a writer and podcast producer. In every episode, we'll be building a themed stack of the books we love. And this week, we are doing books for the girls and the gays. But first off, Ella, how are you? How was your week? Are you reading? Are you not reading? What have you been up to?
I've been quite busy launching a podcast.
As have I.
Great. Yeah, it's been mad. I feel like we've done the first episodes out after lots and lots of prepping and planning. Really nice comments. Thanks for listening and watching.
Yeah, so fun.
Yeah, it's been great. So that's kept me very busy. So I haven't been reading loads. I have done a little bit of reading. But before we get into that, because that will derail us, what else have you been up to?
I've really been enjoying RuPaul's Drag Race. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, heard of it.
Which I feel like I was so overwhelmed a few years ago with all of the number of franchises, and it was a real task to keep going. I just think it's back. We're so back. I think it's really good fun again. Maybe it's always been fun. I just needed a little break.
Which one? US?
I've only delved back into UK.
But if you're back in, I'm getting back in. I won't be left out.
Get back in. You've got a lot to catch up on. You've got nearly the whole season. So what have you been reading?
Okay, here we go. Do you recall in our last episode 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
When I borrowed The Lamb?
Yes.
You remember? I've now read it.
Read it already?
Yeah, I've read it.
That's quite quick.
Your review really swayed me.
Good.
I've been sitting on my thoughts. I haven't given too much away. Firstly, I think it is an absolutely brilliant book. I thought it was all the things you said it would be. It was those things. However, it was the most upsetting book I've ever read in my whole life. It has upset me so much that you have upset me.
Oh no, that's a terrible start to episode 2.
All the reasons I didn't like it are what makes it so successful as a book. So I
Okay.
think Lucy Rose is a genius. I think she has done a phenomenal job of creating this sense of threat and dread. For anyone who didn't listen to episode 1, go back and listen. It's great.
It's still up there.
It's still there. So Jake recommended The Lamb as part of our Spooky Books episode, and the kind of setup is it's about a mother and daughter who are cannibals, and that's what you need to know. You're caught up. I asked you if it was straight horror. What did you say?
I think I then talked about it being a fairy tale and a folk tale. I did say I'm not much of a horror reader.
Yeah,
so maybe
and
I
you did
didn't
love it.
know.
Yeah, you're not much of a horror reader, and you did love it, and I think that's true for lots of people. I know so many people who've loved this book. I know so many people who would love this book if they read it. I famously cannot handle Jeopardy. That's partly on me. But I just got swayed. And in hindsight, is it straight horror? Yes, would have been fine. And actually within horror, I think it's femgore. Have you heard of this
I've
as
never
a
heard of that.
subgenre? It's basically women slicing and dicing. And I would say that is
the genre.
The Lamb. Yeah, have you heard of Eliza Clark Boy Parts?
I love
Did
that.
you love it? Oh,
Yeah.
Femgore.
Maybe
fan.
I love femgore.
And the eyes are the best part?
No, I've not.
Maybe that's your next
That's-
read.
Leave right now to
Yeah.
read that.
Yeah.
Wow. I can feel our first apology on the pod coming.
And back when we were friends, before the podcast, I trusted you. My review is read with caution. I think it is a very good book, and all the things that Jake loved about it are partly the things that I found really difficult. But if you are squeamish, in fact, what I'd say is if you start reading it and you think, oh, I don't know how much of this I can handle, just stop, because it doesn't change.
I think the way you're talking about it, though, I think some people will go, oh God, I really want to read that even more.
Oh, God. No, that's fine. That's
Yeah,
good.
I'll apologise to you after the
Thank
podcast.
you so much. So this week's theme is books for the girls and the gays. Beyond the obvious.
If you're watching Girl and Gay,
If you're watching A Girl and the Gay, this was one of your themes.
Yes.
What made you pick it?
it's a fun sentence to say.
Yeah, it's really fun, and I've been having fun saying it.
And I think it was a nice idea to think about the books that speak to your identity as a woman, and then books that speak to my identity as a gay man, and hopefully draw on quite a broad set of books that do different things. I struggled to whittle this down because there are so many amazing books that I would say are like really formative and really special. So I've whittled it down to the 3, very much not an exhaustive list of what I would bore you with.
Yes, let
for
that
an
be
hour.
noted. Jake has read more gay books than 3. So the first book that I am bringing to the stack is Amateur by Thomas Page McBee. Have you read?
Which you read a while ago and you persuaded me to read, like, and I'm talking years ago,
Yeah, a long time ago. I'd forgotten that.
and absolutely loved it.
Great.
Really still very memorable.
Yeah.
When you mentioned bringing it
Yeah,
on
and
to
still
stay.
memorable for me because I think I there are lots of books that that I could have put in this category, but this one I think speaks to firstly the trans experience, but then also I think masculinity and femininity, and it's all in one go, and it's only 200 and a bit pages.
A lovely small book for the end of the year.
Packs a big punch. So the author, Thomas Page McBee, is a trans man who sets out to uncover what makes a man and what being a good man even means through his experience training for and fighting in a charity boxing match at Madison Square Garden. Lovely, succinct premise. So Thomas is an amateur at both boxing and at masculinity, and then embarks on an exploration of gender in society and sexism and toxic masculinity and privilege, and as he questions the limitations of gender roles as he has stepped into a new one. So it was shortlisted for the Baillie Gifford Prize for non-fiction, which is the biggest non-fiction prize, and I loved it because, first of all, it was the first book I'd read about a trans experience.
I was going to say that to you. I remember as I'm thinking back to it, and it was probably a decade ago.
Yeah.
And it was the first time maybe I'd really, in a long form version, heard someone talk about like the entire transition and be really candid about things that I had never heard spoken about.
And again, such a short book, but to go from the before to the after to the kind of the physicality of it, as well as the mental kind of transition and all of that reflected in how other people see you as well. So I think because of that, it goes beyond masculinity, and you can't talk about that without talking about femininity as well. And so what I got from it that I wasn't expecting was just food for thought around what it means to move in the world as a woman. And I think we've talked about this before. There's that section of the book where Thomas talks about how he is seen in meetings before and after his transition, and how much more respect that he gets, and people lean forward.
Yeah, he talks about having been still quite early on in the testosterone journey, and having just a slightly deeper voice, and just noticing people listening to him more and his voice carrying more weight.
Yeah.
Just really interesting, small progressions of things.
Yeah, which you wouldn't get from, unless you have someone who has been navigating life as a woman and then transitions and navigates that same life as a man. You just wouldn't get that insight. I loved it for all of those reasons, and I think it's worthy of a place on the stack because I think it is a completely unique insight, but also really entertaining, like the lead up to the boxing match, and you're so worried about the violence and that feeling of getting hit as well.
I also think what was really good about it was that he talks a lot about the success of gaining that male privilege, which in his transition journey, that's good, but he struggles somewhat with, okay, I'm more dominant, but is that a good thing for other people? And I feel more, I think is there a bit about what it means to walk in the street at night quite differently, which again was the first time I'd ever really thought about that aspect as well. And he has to go, I'm actually I'm intimidating, or I'm like,
and he realises that people will cross the street, or a woman walking in front will let him pass, and that's so relatable to me that I would always, if I can sense a man walking behind me, I will move to the side. And I think that's so interesting to hear. I don't think that all men are oblivious to that power that they hold accidentally, just by virtue of being a man, but I did think that it was so interesting to have somebody point it out in a way that maybe at the time I read it, I hadn't thought about the fact that wasn't something that men felt all the time as well, and I'm sure that some people do. So I think for a really short book, it made me see the world quite differently. So I'd recommend it to anyone, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's very short, so you can squeeze it in anytime.
Yeah, it's really good. That's a real dual recommendation.
It's a double tick.
Yeah. My first recommendation is The Rachel Incident by Caroline O'Donoghue. Out in the last few years, really so perfectly what I love to read. Like I imagine like you would see that and think that's one for Jake.
It's Jake.
And it follows Rachel and her friend. She meets her friend James, and she's looking back on her kind of younger self and how life has changed, and how her and James become embroiled in a kind of a few kind of love triangles. And Rachel is a girl, James is a gay man. I'm really interested in that friendship, because that's like a lot of my friendships, is that dynamic, and particularly with their time when they meet, late teens, early 20s. They're both, I would say, quite unsure of themselves, and look back now and obviously they are who they are, but there's that kind of wavering youth where you're figuring out your place, particularly for James as a gay man, and they both become embroiled with this professor. I really loved that they work together in a bookshop,
Ideal setting.
The perfect job. It's a real loving look at those jobs, almost the bar job where we met, like where those jobs, like those people become your family and you become really close. You're spending so much time together. James and Rachel end up living together, so they're really embedded in each other's lives, in some ways for good, in some ways for bad, and that they're very codependent. But I think that's a really interesting take on friendship that is very true a lot of the time when you're a bit younger. I think you can feel quite codependent on your friends.
Yeah. Just on that thought on being codependent, there's that, I won't even say a source for this because I'm going to butcher it, but it is a documented thing that when you are up to, I guess, about 12, your opinions and sense of self comes from your family. And then there is a point in your like mid-20s-ish that it all comes from yourself and you have this really strong sense of self. But that in-between bit is I am shaped by the opinions and the presence of the people around me.
Yeah.
And it is a rejection of family and embracing of your peers before you've really learned what you believe and think about things.
And Caroline O'Donnell, who does this, the writing is so good because she really does that stuff of someone, Rachel, being really brash about a topic and then James saying something else and her having to really be like, oh, wait,
back.
No, I didn't mean that
Yeah,
at all.
walk it back. Yeah.
And the kind of stuff you look back on and like really cringe, but like it's so lovingly done.
Yeah.
There's quite a few reviews like on Goodreads and all over the internet about, God, I really love this book, but how unbearable were the main characters? And I'm reading those thinking like, I think they're
me.
quite relatable.
Yeah. I've been that character.
Yeah, like I think we've all had traits or done similar things or made similar mistakes. I think that's what's nice about it, is it's like done with a way of, this is embarrassing or this isn't how you'd act now as a much older person, but like we've all been there.
I haven't read The Rachel Incident, which I'm slightly ashamed about, not least because friends of mine have loved it so much. It's contemporary as a genre?
Yeah.
What kind of threat level?
Like personal embarrassment.
Okay.
Not threat.
Coming of age.
Coming of age for sure.
Okay.
And I would say it's like such an intersection of our reading tastes.
Okay, great. I will read. This is your second chance. Okay, my second choice is Period Power by Maisie Hill. This book changed my life.
Huge claim.
It's unapologetically one for the girls, but gays, listen up. You might learn something. So Period Power is a handbook to periods and hormones that will leave you wondering why the hell nobody told you that sooner. So the author Maisie Hill is a women's health practitioner, and in the book she reveals everything you need to know about how to take control of your menstrual cycle and how to maximise the natural superpowers that you have each month, while also making adjustments for the days that are a bit tougher. And if the phrase natural superpowers hasn't given it away, it is a bit woo-woo.
Okay.
It is a little bit woo-woo.
And you're only a little bit woo-woo.
I lean woo-woo, I think. But the science is absolutely, completely solid, and it makes, I think the slight woo-woo-ness to it is like just a slightly American style of talking about things as superpowers. So I'll briefly explain the book. Section 1 explains what is going on in your body. Section 2 outlines each phase of the menstrual cycle as seasons. So, for example, summer is when estrogen is at a peak. You feel amazing. I would say I can catch myself in like a reflected bus stop in summer and I'll think, wow, who's that? She looks hot. And then same person in autumn, which is subtitled Highway to Hell, I'd just be all like puffy and I won't feel good. And the things I've learned from the book are so many. But for example, during summer, your face is more symmetrical and you glow and everything about you is confident because the hormones are at a point where you could get pregnant. So everything about your body is saying, come hither, impregnate me. And then in autumn, it's saying, stay away from me. So that section has been completely fundamental to how I think about and talk about my cycle. And then it also has section 3, which is about how to advocate for yourself around conditions like endometriosis or PCOS. And I'd say I was simultaneously so grateful to have read it, that it existed, that I could share it with friends and with like young family friends as well, so that they are armed with this knowledge. I was also really angry because when I read it in my, I'm going to say early 20s, maybe, so much of it was news to me. And maybe that's partly on me for not informing myself, but I think so much of that life up to that point had been dictated by the school syllabus and like topics that people decide that you need to know. And I think the stuff in this book is absolutely what I should have been taught in school. Maybe spending a little bit less time on how not to get pregnant which kind of dominated as far as I can remember. So I felt like it was what I needed. I wish I'd read something like that sooner. It spread through my friendship group like wildfire. It was like we were all just passing it on, sharing it. We all have a shared language now. So I can say I'm feeling really autumnal and everyone knows exactly what that means. That's how I speak to my husband about my cycle.
So when you say it's changed your life, what does that mean for you?
So it's partly knowledge and partly it's given me confidence to then talk to doctors and other healthcare professionals about things that I don't think are like quote unquote normal. Otherwise you just think pain is normal and like whatever amount of your pain you're in, well, that's normal. And after reading this book, I didn't feel like that was true. And I think it's pushed me to ask for more for myself. Yeah, it was published in 2019. So I hope that lots of people have read it by now. But if you haven't read it and you have a cycle, then I really recommend it.
So my next book is I Leave It Up to You by Jinwoo Chong. I picked this up. It's got some lovely quotes from Gabrielle Zevin. It's got Grant Ginder. It's got Brian Washington. It's all of my ticks there. And the book follows Jack Jr., who wakes up from a coma that he's been in for 2 years. And his life in New York has moved on without him. And he's back in a town with his parents. And he has to readjust to what his life could or will be. That makes it sound hideously depressing. It's really good fun.
Oh, great.
It's almost like a rom-com. It's got some lovely stuff in there about like family, and they run a restaurant that he then has to get back involved in for work. And his nurse on the ward when he's woken up from the coma, they start there's a little frisson from the start, and then they start out a nice love story, like quite a slow burn love story, I would say. There's some really lovely stuff with the new boyfriend that was the nurse, that he becomes quite embedded in the family quite quickly because they all live quite close to each other, and the guy comes into the restaurant because they want to thank him for looking after their son. It's just really like tender and nice, and like a lovely book about what home can mean as a queer person, I would say. Nice. But without being, and I will come on to a very sad gay lit for my third choice, it's like a different version of that, but still asking the same question of what it means to be happy, I would say. I think that's maybe like it's not a genre, but maybe an area that I'll always be drawn to.
I think it sounds really good. Question, do you think you will have a book set in a restaurant in every stack?
I would like to. Yeah. We're not setting many rules for the pod, but I would like that to be the case.
My final choice for this stack is A Marvellous Light by Freya Marske.
Heard of, not read.
Not read, okay.
Looks brilliant.
Yeah, it's very pink and fun, pink, orange, purple cover. So it is set in alternative Edwardian England. So it's magic infused. It's also a murder mystery. It's also a queer romance. So this kind of story revolves around young Baronet Robin Blythe as he starts a new role in a minor government post. He actually finds out, and I can't quite remember, I think this is due to an administrative error, but he finds out he's actually been appointed parliamentary liaison to a secret magical society. So his world becomes very complicated very quickly as he kind of discovers this hidden world in London, which is full of magic and danger and glamour. And he gets mysterious visions. People are attacking him. Something happened to his predecessor. He can't seem to find him, and he has questions for his predecessor around what on earth he's supposed to be doing in this role. And so he teams up with his counterpart on the magical side of things, who's a liaison with the government from the magical side. And he's called Edwin, and he's really hostile towards him, which is immediately sexy. And together they begin to unravel a plot that threatens all the magicians in the British Isles. So it's just really good fun. I read a proof of it before it came out. And on that proof, it was pitched as perfect for fans of The Binding by Bridget Collins.
Oh, have you read that? I've read that.
Jinx. I haven't read it. I don't think I've read it. I don't think it's the right comp for this book. I think at the time, that was the big kind of fantasy that had made it to a general readership. Like The Lamb had made it beyond that niche horror readership with great positioning. So I can see why they did. But since then, we've had loads of softer, brighter fantasy. If you think about the cover of The Binding, it's very dark and mysterious, and this is just like a riot of colour. And they're actually now comping it to Bridgerton with magic, which I think tells you everything you need to know
so appealing.
about how fun this book is.
And how successfully, because you said it's mystery and a romance, and
Yeah.
is that overwhelming to have all of those different things in, or do you?
No, I think it is probably speaks to the question of romanticy. Romanticy, I'd say, is a genre where it's a romance set in a fantasy world. I think that is what romanticy is. I think it gets used for things far beyond that, but that, I think, at its heart is what romanticy is. This, I'd say, is much more a kind of magical mystery that happens to have a subplot of a queer romance in it. So it never feels like any of those elements are competing with each other. It just all feels like it adds to the warmth of the plot and how much you care about the characters.
It sounds like a lovely winter read.
I think it's great for winter,
yeah.
or if you're going through a hard time, or if you're in a bit of a reading rut and you just need pure
Good story.
entertainment and pleasure. If I am correct, your last choice is your sad gay lit.
You've said last book, let's go really fun. I've said last book, let's depress the listeners. My third book is A Home at the End of the World by Michael Cunningham. Michael Cunningham famously wrote The Hours, which you might have read or seen the film of.
I'm nodding. I've actually never heard of the film or the book. I just wanted to look involved.
It's one of Meryl Streep's standout roles, and that is a crowded category.
Okay, great.
It's just, so I must have read this. I've now read everything that Michael Cunningham has ever done. I must have read this around university age, as I was, and I don't think it was like on the English curriculum or anything. I think it was as I was starting to discover that there was this.
There are other things.
There were other things you could read.
Yeah.
Starting to discover that there was this back canon, arguably, but like 100 years of all these kind of like seminal queer books that I had not had access to or been drawn towards or been shown. I was racing through them, and there was a lot that I liked and felt good that I had read. There was a lot that I felt like, oh, I understand something more. I understand something about history more. I understand something about the law or people's feelings or how things socially have changed. This was maybe one of the first books where I was like, this is a like beautiful, tenderly written novel about gay people living relatively happy lives, or maybe not even happy lives, maybe just like lives worthy of commemorating in a book.
Full
and full is the word, I think. So the book follows Jonathan, Bobby and Alice and Claire. It's their four perspectives. It's this love triangle between three of them and living quite an unconventional kind of setup, and it asks all the questions about the idea now of like gay marriage. Does the community want to assimilate, or will the community never be assimilated, and therefore those things that don't actually serve us? And that idea from the previous book about home and like what it would mean, what home means if home doesn't mean man, woman, 2.4 children. And I think like an eternally unanswerable question. These are questions that we're asking now, but this is a book from 1990, before I was born.
Number one, you're making me want to read it. Number two, you described it as sad, and what you're saying doesn't sound sad.
I don't think it's sad in the way that people might say that A Little Life is sad, or that One Day might be sad, although obviously we're now listing my favourite books ever, so I think there's something in...
You're drawn to a sad gay book.
There's something in like a level of sadness but something that I think that really draws me to books is, or makes me when I've read something that I then really love, is where it's so, there's elements that are so sad that make you appreciate the highs. Yeah. So it's almost like a story where...
It's just got highs and lows, and maybe that speaks to that full... It's a full life.
Yeah, the fullness of life, and to live a full life and to be brave and to go and do things and to seek the highs, you might face the lows. I think that's more in line with my understanding of the world and what then I feel reflects me in a book.
Yeah, but you wouldn't say it's a downer.
I wouldn't say it's a...
Oh, we might.
I don't want to misquote in case you read it. Okay. It is sad.
Okay.
There are sad things that happen in this book. Yeah. But what I realised when I looked back at this copy is I've got all of these lovely like annotations. I haven't done this for years, so maybe I'll bring this back. But like loads of lovely annotations, like everything.
Was it from the first time you read it?
Yeah, it must have been. And I've read this a couple of times, I think. Every like little bit that I've underlined, I'm like, oh, wow.
Does it still speak to you now?
Yeah, like just and it's three sentences at a time, and that whole sentence is like, it's made me like stop and go, wow, like it's so well written.
That's so nice as well. It's like a dialogue with your younger self as he read it for the first time.
So I really recommend this.
That's quite wholesome, actually. I think that is a nice one to end on.
Yeah, sad but wholesome, sad but full,
like us.
So now we've got a listener question from Rachel for our shelf help section. As always, please get in touch whether you're buying for a birthday or doing a little book binge for your own self-care. We'd love to solve your dilemmas. We are at The Stack Podcast on all platforms, or please do leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube.
Hi, Ella and Jake. Loving the podcast. Thank you so much for all of the books that are now added to my stack. My question for you is, I absolutely love a book where when you get about 2/3 of the way through, you think back to the beginning of the book and you think, wow, that feels like a lifetime ago for those characters. And so my question is, could you each recommend a book that really evokes that feeling? Thank you.
Lovely question.
Fun one. Really fun one. And I totally know that feeling of, I think those books, they tend to balance being quite often quite long. Not always. Quite often quite long, but they're so readable that you just fly through it. And so I know that point about 2/3 of the way through, where you're slightly dazed by how far you've come, but you've also been so submerged in it, you have to come up for air and think, oh, let me get out of that person's life.
Yeah, and particularly I love those books where it's either like a whole generation or someone's whole life in the novel, and you're like, you're dedicating the time.
Yeah, for sure. And do you ever do that thing when you're loving a book so much where you like hold it up and you're like trying to work out how much you've got left versus how much you've read? That's such a nice feeling. The earliest ones I remember doing that with are like books like The Hunger Games and kind of children's books, and just being like, I'm so glad I get to spend more time in this world. And so I think we've both brought books that feel like you are completely immersed in somebody else's life. Do you want to go first?
I can go first. My suggestion is Amazing Grace Adams by Fran Littlewood. This is a book that follows our main character, who is a middle-aged mother with a husband and a daughter, and one day in the middle of the day just goes, I can't.
She's over it.
If my memory serves me correctly, she gets out of her car, leaves her car in the middle of the road, and just walks. And the whole book is her walking for nearly an entire day through London to something that is in the evening. And by the end of the book, you have physically come a very long way. You feel it on foot. You feel like you've stomped across London with the main character. But you also have these flashbacks of all the kind of things that have happened that lead up to her, feeling like this, to the point where she had to have this moment or epiphany, but also that she's been carrying those things for a long time. And by the end, you are like, God, this you've had this crazy day, but you've had this whole life of all these things.
And I've lived it with you. Mine is much longer in time frame, but also feels like it traverses great distances. So my recommendation is Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. Have you read?
I have read that. It's really good.
Did you love? Okay. So it weaves together the lives of a 1950s vanished female aviator and the modern day Hollywood actress who plays her on screen decades later. This is one where, so full disclosure, I worked on this back in the day, and I think it's a completely brilliant book, one of my favourite books ever. One of the comments we got a lot at the time was, who is she based on? Who is the real Marianne Graves? And she's fictional, but that's how brilliantly it's done. You feel like she's real. So the Marianne strand in particular is incredibly broad in scope. So we move with her from her childhood in Prohibition America to the blitz and glitz of wartime London, and then her final great ambition, which is to circumnavigate the globe pole to pole. And on that journey, this is not a spoiler, this is the setup. Her plane disappears and is lost to history. And so the modern day strand sees Hadley, a Hollywood actress, looking back on Marianne's life and really wanting to know the unknowable in Marianne. That, I think, is all I can say without giving anything away, because I think it covers so much ground, you're so in it, and it surprises you all the way through. And I think as a kind of whole book, every element of it I loved, from the start to the middle to the ending. I just loved being in it the whole time.
And before we go, Ella, your birthday is coming up.
Yes.
I don't know if you're aware. So I've got you. The podcast team, me, has got you a little present.
Oh, thanks for a little present.
Which I hope you like. And I did think, how fun that this will be real ASMR off the microphones.
Shall I open it now?
Ella is opening the present.
I'm trying to make it really loud. Ooh. It's got sprayed edges.
It's got sprayed edges.
For the listener, it's got sprayed edges. Hey, I haven't read it. No way. It's a copy of the binding, which I'm pretty sure I haven't read. I just think
we're
I
in for
have.
such a treat.
Fabulous. This is a great choice, Jake.
You're welcome. I thought, I'm
really
going to get
well
something. I'm going to the Oxfam near me. I'm going to find something good. I
Thank you
love
so
that book.
much.
And it is, fantasy that's broken through,
so
which
up
kind of
my
is what
street,
got
and I
me.
know so much about it, and I'm going to read it. We're going away to the lakes.
Lovely.
my birthday, so I will take it. I think that is perfect to read instead of going for a walk. When I said that binding, were you like...
I was literally so shocked. So weird. Of all the books.
Thank you for listening to The Stack. You can find details of all the books we talked about today in the episode description, and you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at The Stack Podcast. We'll see you next episode with our Christmas gift guide.
The Stack is an independent podcast production.
It is produced by Jake Williams and Ella Horn.
Our theme music was created by Thomas Clark.